Well, we are on day 13 of our 40-day journey. We are about a third of the way through it already. And this is a Saturday, although it's actually Friday night. I'm over at our rental property. Been cleaning here, mopping floors and steam cleaning carpets. And so I thought I would take the opportunity to catch a little bit different view of the lake in the background. And so we've got a sunset going on. So again, the lighting's weird, but you know I'm here and it's better to see the lake anyway. So we got a new view for you to look at while I'm reviewing our week for us. It's been a dramatic week. We started off the week talking about the splendor, the beauty of the holiness of God, and that worship is an important time to be able to appreciate especially the holiness, the splendor, the presence of God. We talked about offering ourselves also as living sacrifices this week, holy and acceptable to God. Talked about worshiping in spirit, in truth, and this week in holiness. That those are exchanges that God is able to participate with us in, and we're able to participate with Him. We also talked about how sometimes life doesn't go well, and we feel like bruised reeds that might crack at any moment, or smoldering wicks that might be snuffed out at any minute. And Isaiah assured us that Jesus will watch over us and take care of us, and He's not going to finish us off, but He's going to strengthen us and help us. We talked about some pretty dramatic stories, pretty chaotic stories. We talked about Uzzah dying because he touched the ark when David was moving the Ark of the Covenant, the first attempt. We talked about Cain killing Abel after the first record of worship. And then we also talked about the second and third records of worship in the Bible with Noah. Again, a very dramatic story with a very dramatic ending. And also Abraham and Isaac, and that God has provided the lamb for the sacrifice so that Isaac was spared. I specifically have been thinking more about Cain this afternoon while I was mopping and steam cleaning. And I was thinking about the whole idea of Cain being overly responsible because he was a firstborn, that's how firstborns tend to be. But as I was thinking about that, it occurred to me that Cain was not only a firstborn of Adam and Eve, he was a firstborn of all firstborns. Now I know Adam was created by God, but Cain was literally the first male, the first baby, the first person ever born. And so if that was combined with what we talked about a couple days ago, of them expecting him to bring the salvation for the chaos that happened in the Garden of Eden when Adam and Eve disobeyed God, again, what a lot of pressure for him. Also, I was thinking about how God tried to intervene. We mentioned that Cain was living in his emotional mind. We talked about that Venn diagram with emotion mind and logic mind, and I had added spiritual mind to it. That Cain was living in emotional mind, and even God Himself tried to convince Cain, let's stir some logic in. Like, if you do what's right, Cain, it's going to be all right. But Cain couldn't get there. And he stayed stuck in his emotions and stayed stuck in his anger and acted on it. And it just reminded me of how many times in my life I've done something very similar. That sometimes I can hear the still small voice of God, as they say, in the back of my brain saying, do you want to knock this off, Karla? And my answer to God is just flat out, no, I don't. And I make a mess. And so there's a lot of things about the story of Cain and Abel. Thank God I've never killed anybody. However, it's so easy for all of us, as I said in our previous recording, to go down the path of Cain. And so we want to be careful not to do that. And when God tries to reason with us, we want to make sure we listened. Overall, the overarching ideas that go with this week and actually both weeks of our study thus far. One of the ideas that I thought about specifically in regard to the idea of living in spiritual mind is that we all have to be young at some point. We are young in our emotion mind and we make mistakes and there's a learning curve. And as we mature and grow up, hopefully our emotion mind, we learn to manage it better. Same thing with logic. Some of us are ruled by our logic brain, and as we mature, we have to learn how to pay attention to our emotions and stir those together. The same is true about our spiritual mind. And I think that this is something that's lacking in a lot of our spiritual training, spiritual development, is teaching children, teens, young adults, old adults, teaching people how to live in spiritual mind and how to appropriately interact with our spiritual thoughts and our spiritual guidance from God. And when is it time to live in the fringes of our spiritual mind? And when is it time to be more balanced? And that's not taught to us. I don't remember it really ever being taught. It's something that I've learned literally through a lot of trial and error. And so if you make mistakes along the way, isn't the sky beautiful? It just keeps changing. If you make mistakes along the way, just ask God to forgive you, ask Him to teach you lessons, and know that we're all learning along the path. Here comes Benny, my dog. He's been out running around. I know you can't see him, but he's right here now. He's on the dock with me. So I thought about 1 Corinthians 13:11 when it says, when I was a child, I thought like a child, I spoke like a child, I understood like a child. Paul says that's just how it goes. But when I became a man, when I became mature, I put childish things behind. And so that's a big component of that Venn diagram that is a huge oversimplification of life. That in our spirit mind, our emotional mind, our logical mind, that we have to put childish things behind and learn to walk in mature paths. Another overarching theme in all of this is just honesty with ourselves, honesty with God. Being religious and coming to God with a lot of religious trappings doesn't do us any good. And so that's why you get like first takes and one take of the teachings, usually just one take of the songs and the worship times. Today, actually, it would have been yesterday's, but they're all in the same day for me. The last worship set we did, I had to patch it together because I just flat out started in the wrong key and it was a mess. So, but there's so much engineering and so much perfecting of everything that we see that we lose the reality of life. We lose the honesty of our lives. And so that's why I'm just doing this after I've been cleaning. This is what I look like, combed my hair a little bit, and here we are. The goal is not to be distracting, whether it's in the music or my teachings or any of our lives. We don't want to be distracting, but we can be honest. We can be honest with each other. Well, we have to find the right people to be honest with. I guess we'll put that caveat in. But we can be honest with God. And the third thing, overarching, for me specifically, is legacy. What do we leave behind? A while back, I read some article that talked about how different people are driven by different things in life. And one of the things that they identified, there was like maybe 5 different things, was that some people are driven in life by being concerned about what their legacy is. What are they leaving behind? And that is my personality. The other 3 or 4 things that were listed, I couldn't really care about. But I want to be able to leave a legacy that honors God and gives some information about God. Of course, the internet wasn't here when I was growing up. And I don't know what will happen with the internet when I'm no longer here. But there's a chance that there's people years from now that stumble onto these videos. And who knows what's going on in the world. Perhaps there's something that we're all doing today in our 40-day journey together that will benefit people years down the path. And so you are getting an honest legacy here with me as we go down this journey. And I want you to know that I don't want you to think that I'm not prepared, but it literally is a journey. I don't know where we're going on Sunday. I don't know what's next. Every day when I finish my teaching and I finish the songs, there is a new idea or an additional idea. Sometimes it's in the middle of the night. I wake up thinking about it all, thinking about you all. Sometimes it's early in the morning. Sometimes it's immediately after I turn the camera off. So this has been a very interesting journey, and it has been very good for my heart and soul. I told you when we started that I had been pretty exhausted by some things in life, and God is literally refreshing me and restoring my soul. And I hope that the same is true for you. So since this is our Saturday morning review of the week, made on Friday evening with a beautiful sunset across Lake Martin in the background. Saturday's a day that I've chosen to not do songs in the afternoon, just so I can get some other things done, and you can too. But Sunday we'll head into week 3, and we'll see where this takes us. Now, for those of you who might be falling in love with Lake Martin, I'll just put my little ad at the end here that we do have a rental property, and I'll try to remember to, as I say, put a link below. That if anybody's interested in it, you can come and spend some time at Lake Martin. We have it listed on VRBO. So I'll add that. That's my commercial for today. But have a wonderful Saturday, and I will see you on Sunday, and we'll launch into week 3 and the third of our 40-day journey together. Thanks for coming along with me. I am grateful to know that you all are there.